Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Viridian is an Oakville-based building technology integrator, helping building owners and managers across South Central Ontario and occasionally across Canada to design, install, and maintain open, flexible, user-friendly based building technology systems. These systems can be involved in building automation, access control, security video, network cabling, and all of their various subsystems. At Viridian, we believe in open protocol, and to those of you in the automation space, that will translate to BACnet, most likely, but also flexible, user-friendly, and cost-effective building technologies and IoT solutions serving municipalities, multi-res, commercial real estate, schools, mission-critical data centers, and others. One of our strengths as a multi-skilled provider of building technology is the ability to work with different teams within an organization and to plan and execute improvements in a way that includes all stakeholders. Usually this divides into some areas of finance, operations, and IT. In this way, we help to create detailed plans in advance and avoid surprises late in a project process, particularly around the IT questions that come up, as IT groups usually have a very specific technical and security protocol that we must all adhere to while working on their sites. Part of our mission is to act as a pre-filter for our customers in the sea of technology offerings that we see today, as not everything in our view is effective or of high value. So we want to help guide decisions towards high value outcomes. So why are we talking about water, and why are we talking about water now when there are so many topics we could dive into in buildings? One key thing is that insurance costs and deductibles are rising, for some significantly. We're seeing deductibles that used to be in the $20,000 to $30,000 range climbing to $100,000 or even $150,000 per event. Those are now not uncommon according to our customers. This brings us to another point, as the costs of damage repair and business disruption can be very high and can also be of a non-monetary nature, affecting one's brand. Another factor is the cost of water, which is rising, and at the same time, water conservation is becoming more important for all kinds of other reasons. One other reason that we're talking about this now is the fact that we're really excited to be enabling our customers in this shift to IP and IoT technology. It's especially important to consider the advantages of moving to proven IP and IoT tools now in the wake of COVID, in order to help protect assets and act in real time when there are fewer customers and staff on site to catch adverse conditions like water leaks and floods. So one thing I want to make clear is that water sensors have been around for a long time. Water sensors in themselves are not new. The problem is that hardwired solutions are costly and can be problematic in finished spaces. And Wi-Fi solutions have distance limitations due to interference with building materials like steel and concrete. Moving to our agenda, over the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to introduce the Sensative team. We're going to learn more about their hardware and software offerings. We're going to see a couple of demos, and then we're going to take a quick look at how their user-friendly software app, EGO, looks to a facilities manager or to a portfolios manager. So we talked to you about water and why we're talking about water now. You may be asking yourself why we're talking to you about Sensative when there are so many offerings on the market in terms of IoT. Over the past 2 years, we've had more and more customers approach us looking for a solution in the growing problem of water leaks and floods. Beyond our typical wired solutions, we started scouring the local and world markets for more innovative solutions, but couldn't find anything that excited us until we met the Sensative team. We were introduced to Sensative in 2020 and have come to believe that their technology will become more prevalent as time goes on. What impresses us most about the Sensative solution are 4 key characteristics. Firstly, they have a proven track record, and we like that. Secondly, the innovative form factor of the sensor strip, and we're going to learn more about that in a few minutes. Thirdly, their approach aligns with our open protocol philosophy. And last but not least, their platform EGO is one that you can build on, starting with leak and flood detection and water consumption monitoring, if that interests you, and expanding from there. In the interests of time and continuity, we're going to ask that questions be held until the end of the session. but please know that we've allocated some time at the end to answer all of your questions. Before I introduce Sensitive, I'd like to congratulate them on signing their 40th agreement with municipalities in Europe. I'm sure we're all going to be keen to learn more about what's driving such a high level of interest. It's now my pleasure to introduce Fredrik Westman, who's joining us from Lund, Sweden. Fredrik is one of the co-founders of Sensitive and is going to share with you what excites us so much at Viridian as providers of high-value building technology solutions. Fredrik, over to you.
Thanks, David, and hello, everyone. We're excited to join you today. And as Julia and David mentioned, Sensitive is focused on providing advanced IoT solutions both for smart buildings and cities, using both hardware and software solutions. And what makes us different from most other IT companies in the space is that we have created a horizontal and open infrastructure. And it is future-proof, it's cost-efficient, and it's easy to use. And as David mentioned, we are having a strong traction here in Europe together with our partners. And today we are working with some of the largest real estate owners in Northern Europe, but we're also in the process of connecting our 40th municipality over in Europe. And we expect to add at least another 10 this year. And these are not included many of our customers in other sectors besides the municipalities and the real estate industry. Together with partners such as Viridian, we are confident that this is the best way to meet new opportunities, but also the new challenges that come within IoT. Therefore, we are very happy to join you for today's meeting. And for the reason David shared, today we're going to focus on water, but depending on your own unique goals, that can be just the beginning of making your municipalities and your buildings and your business smarter. Now we have prepared a demo showing different use cases, and we're excited to get started. Let us take a look.
We have our hardware that consists of strips, and strips is an extremely thin IoT sensor that you're able to use for multiple functionalities. You have the open-close detection for windows and doors. You have water leak detection, temperature, air humidity sensor, you have ambient light, you have presence for desk occupancy to see if someone is at the desk or not. And combining with our accessories, we have even more functionalities and features. But what makes strips unique is, first of all, its design. It's an extremely thin sensor that you can mount invisibly in windows and doors. So it's only 3 millimeters thin to make it possible to mount in between the frame and the door. And if you mount it visibly on the wall, it is discrete and designed to blend in. So you can have 100 sensors in an apartment building without the devices having to be seen. We think that this is a key feature as IoT means more and more devices, and the acceptance factor of the device is getting more and more critical. Second of all is the no maintenance. Strips has a 10-year battery. The battery is built into the sensor, and the whole point with this is that you don't have to change the batteries, replace the sensor within the next 10 years. Because if you have a facility manager running around changing batteries, that will cost a lot more than actually buying the sensor itself. Third of all is the high quality, both on the data side but as well on the functionality. Indoor and outdoor functionalities, so you can use the window and door sensors for gates. You can use the temperature sensor for your mounting it outside. And together with our accessories, we have even made it possible to mount them in metal cabinets for example, for power cabinets. So really a robust and sensor that's suitable for different kind of environments. So this is one part. We call it the strip sensor. It's the architect choice because it has the blend-in design. It has the beautiful and elegant design that is extremely unique on the market.
Things that occurred to us is that municipal buildings are often clustered and in close proximity to one another, especially those located in town centers. Such building clusters could all have wireless sensors tied to a single head end, given that the signal strength extends up to 10 kilometers. So now that we've heard about the strip sensor, let's learn a little more about EGO, Sensitive software app, and how it can be used to take immediate positive action when a water leak is detected.
The second of all is our platform, EGO, for smart cities and smart buildings. And we started developing EGO back in 2014 when we were working with one of the largest public housing companies in Sweden. And then they explained to us that, well, even though they liked our sensors, they had a much bigger problem. They had about 10,000 apartments in their area, but in all the different buildings that they had different vendors, different suppliers, and they had multiple services connected to that building. For example, you had access control, you had security, you had HVAC, you had senior care and smart homes. And all of these solutions were provided by different vendors and suppliers. And they were not connected. They were not able to share the data in between. They were not allowing multiple users. And worst of all was that the real estate owner was not in control of that data. Well, what we provided to the market, and this goes for both cities and buildings because it's actually the same need. It's about giving the control to the customer. Being able to access the data, being in control of their data, makes it possible to actually change which the services they like. If the supply doesn't work for them, they actually can change that, just like you're changing an app on your phone. It should be that easy. It's just about providing access to the data and who can control what. Second of all is about downwards, because there are so many different technologies, so many different protocols and devices, and usually the different devices has its unique use case. So you have a water leak detection, and then from a different vendor you have the water valve shutoff that we're going to show today. Well, how do you connect those? And what happens in 5-10 years? It might be a different protocol and technology. It might be different vendors that are providing the best of breed sensors. The cost might go down. I mean, how do you actually think 5-10 years ahead? Well, it's all about building it horizontal, building it open, building on standards, and that's what we're doing with our middleware platform. We're providing access and control over data, but also that effect that we're providing is being able to change the services when you need it and being able to add devices as you grow. And it's all about building this scalable. Start small, scale fast, but think big. And today we're going to start small. So let's get to the case. We have one demo for you today that is surrounding water, because we're seeing that we have a lot of different real estate customers around the world that are having more and more issues with water leaks. First of all, the water leak is of course a problem for the tenant. You have to handle the water leak. You might be on vacation, so you might even miss when it happens. You have the insurance cost to that, and in fact, the insurance cost for a real estate owner is growing more and more because of these damages that water leaks are causing. And second of all, you have the business interruptions. You as a real estate owner are focusing on, of course, maintaining your buildings, providing a great tenant experience, and now you have to deal with something that is unexpected and it has become much worse because you weren't able to detect it when it actually happened. So you're seeing multiple challenges going ahead, and COVID-19 is not the only one. And water leak detection is becoming an increasing problem. So today's case and demo is focusing on a real estate owner that is working on a global market. They have buildings in both Canada and Europe, and they want to be able to remotely manage their buildings. Basically from one side, being able to see what's going on in the buildings right now. If there's a water leak, they shouldn't have to be at the building to detect it. But how do you make that possible? Second of all is that they have done the risk assessment, and they've seen that the three major ones for them that they're seeing, besides the financial risk, looking at the interest rates and the effects, the risk that they're seeing is water damages and mold damages due to water leaks, and they have fire, and they have intrusion and security. Those are the top three ones, but still the top number one, is the water leak damages. And they also see that they can actually do something about this. So the real estate owner has more than 100 multi-dwelling units around the world. And for this specific case, it has more than 100 apartments in this multi-dwelling unit.
Every sector has its own set of concerns, and municipalities are no different. You may have smaller buildings that don't have full-time staff on site, yet are still at risk of adverse conditions like leaks, floods, pipe freezes, and others. Some cities also own multi-residential units that pose an even higher risk given the sheer number of fixtures, water lines, and connections that present more potential points of failure than any other common building type. Plus, they're all surrounded by finished floors and drywall. The slide we're looking at now is highlighting the trend toward smart buildings and smart cities as we move further into decentralized power models, including electrified transportation and more.
During the last year, they had 3 leaks in one of their buildings. The 3 leaks had cost more than $10,000 per leak due to repair cost, locating the damage, and also the mold detection that they found in one of them. And they come to us to actually see how can we prevent this from happening again. First of all, how do we find it? Second of all, how do we make this manageable for us as a real estate owner? So what we did was to provide an IoT solution for them based on 3 different components. First of all, you have the water leak detection. That's the most cost-efficient way to detect a water leak. It's the most cost-efficient way to actually prevent the further damages. And it's extremely simple. It's a kind of a vanilla case for us. What you need is the water leak sensor. You place it where of course there's the risk for water leak damages. You have under the sink, under the fridge, under the washing machine. But you also have those areas in the staircases or in the basement where you have the pipes running, but basically no people or no activity around it. So it might go for months without even detecting the leak. So those small hidden places is where you could place the sensor. As I mentioned before, strips is extremely thin, it's easy to mount, it's easy to use. It is the wireless connectivity. You have the 10 kilometers range on the sensor, so you're well off connecting them 100 units to one multi-dwelling units with only one gateway. And you have connected them, you have included it to the system, so all you need to do is just to slip it under the sink, or you can use the mounting plate in order to to use screws in order to attach it, or the adhesive that is attached to the strips. So installation is a very quick process, and in order to make sure that of course the installation cost is as low as possible for you. So you've mounted the water leak detection at 100 apartments. We've placed 2 sensors in each apartment. So what happens if there's a water leak? Well, let's take a look at it. So let's pretend there's a water leak. As you can see, as I'm pouring water on strips, it just takes a few seconds before you see the LED signal. The LED signal shows you that it's transmitting and saying, hey, there's a water leak, alert. And the gateway gets the message, and then connected to IGIO and the rule engine, we create the smartness right now. You know there's a water leak, what do you want to do? Well, this real estate owner wants us to send an email. So it goes out an email to the real estate owner, you get an email to the tenant, but also the facility manager. So now you have 3 people looking at this. The facility manager will be there next thing in the morning, but the tenant already can check it and verify that there is a water leak. So no damage, no harm is done. Very quick fix, and thanks to getting out the message and alerts. And by the way, yes, of course you can get an SMS as well. The funny thing is also that working with real estate owners and working with IoT and new technology, they really get kind of innovative as we're taking the first and the second step. We had this connected, and the real estate owner actually said, hey, we're using this administrative system for facility management. We don't want to log into another system, set up the account, get the alerts. It just creates more work. how can we actually integrate this? Well, that's why you want to use a platform like Ygio. Our best interface and what we want you to use is our API. So what you simply do is to integrate towards the API and towards your administrative system where you're actually working on a daily basis. So this, you got the email about the alert, but you also got the notification in your system already. This is what we call step 1.0. You have the water leak detection, you have the automation creating the alerts, the SMS, you see the notification when it happens, and this might be well off. You have all your 100 buildings connected in Canada and Europe, and you're happy with this. But what if you want to take the next step? Because, I mean, let's face it, you get a water leak detection, and that's great. You know that there's a water leak, you can do something about it. But in reality, you can do actually more than this. So what we're going to show you now is an extremely basic automation concept. It's a rule saying that, okay, we know there's a water leak, let's turn off the water valve, because then you're actually making sure that the water leak is limited. We're going to show you two ways of doing this, and the first one is using a product from Aquascope. And Aquascope is a company that are focusing on providing the best actuators for this. As you can see, it automatically turned off. This goes within seconds, so once you get the alert, it turns off, and then a facility manager or tenant has to open it up again. That means someone has actually verified if there's a leak or not, and you have limited the damages. Extremely powerful, extremely easy. So that's the second thing you can do in a platform like Ygio. What have you done right now? We have showed you that you can automatically turn off the water valve when there's a water leak. You have limited the water leak damages. And that's great. And you can do this for a whole building, for each apartment, for hot and cold water. You can, depending on your budget for the case, you can make it suitable for your building.
We're pausing for a moment to mention some of the customers' feedback we've talked to who see water consumption as a key target for future savings. A typical open tap in Toronto, for example, could translate to about 12 liters per minute or $66 a day. That, in turn, translates to over $2,000 per month. Multiplied by 50 or 100 units in multi-res, that's a lot of cost and a lot of risk. If you have residential housing or senior living within your municipal portfolio, we also want to show you another example of how IoT could be used in water management.
But then you have a building, and this is a senior care. You have elderly people, and someone actually has dementia. And we've been working with so many different use cases, so many different kind of customers, and one of them is exactly this case. So how do you actually make IoT suitable for them? Well, it's not an iPhone app. It's not the coolest user interface. It's about making IoT simple and useful. How do you do that? In this case, it was about creating a push button. You press the button, and once you pressed it, there's a limit of how much water you can use. It's like your stove watch. You have 5 minutes and then it just turns off. It's exactly the same concept. So we did this, we implemented this, and once they're using it, they have 5 liters or a certain amount of water. So if there's a water leak or if they just forget about it, it would automatically turn off. It's all about reducing your risk and making your operations efficient while having a great tenant experience. And that's what IoT can be useful for.
Nice to meet you. My name is Håkan Lundström and I work as a product manager at Sensative. Today I would like to demonstrate for you how a Strega water valve, together with Sensative's horizontal IoT integration platform Ygio, can be used to automatically turn off the water in case you have a water leakage. Let me start by introducing the equipment. First of all, we have a Strega water valve main control unit. This one is used to communicate with Ygio through LoRa1. It is connected to a standard flow meter that is then using a reed pulse meter to count the water that is flowing in the pipes. It is also connected to the Strega solenoid water valve that is then used to automatically then turn on or turn off the water. On top of the sink here we have a standard water tap, and we also have a button. The button is also connected to the Strega and will be used to reactivate the water if we would like to turn it back on. Okay, so let me start the demonstration by turning on the water. And here we go, now the water is flowing. And if we check the water flow meter, we can see that the water is flowing well here now. Now it is put on quite short time, just a couple of liters before it will shut off the water automatically. So let's wait for that to happen. And there we go. The water was automatically shut off by the Strega valve. When the water was shut off, I also got an SMS from Ygio informing me that the water leakage has been detected and that the water was automatically shut off. If I now would like to turn on the water again, I just push this button here. And here we go. The water is back on. And now I will also get an SMS informing me that the water has been turned back on by the button. And there we got that SMS.
So we've done one water leak detection. We have done two different ways of creating automation for two different kind of customers. The third one we want to mention, and this is also IoT in water. It's about knowing what's going on. And I think you're already using this in a lot of your buildings. It's just water measurement. So installing an extra device, measuring the amount of water that the tenant is using or the amount of water that is being consumed in the building in order for you to know. You can of course use this in order to invoice for the amount of water you've used. You can even use gamification with IoT, promoting those who are not using a lot of water. Because of course it's a cost saving, it's a resource perspective, it's also about climate. And let's face it, tenants today, consumers today are more and more concerned about the climate, and this is just the one thing that you can do with IoT. It's an added value of course, but at the same time your main use case is knowing what's going on, how much water is being consumed, which building are outperforming the others, but also giving incentives to your tenants saying, hey, what are you doing that others can learn from? And that's another example of IoT. So we've showed you three different parts of what we call the IoT in water. Water leak detection, the water automation turning off, the water valve in two different ways, and the water measurement. And the water measurement, we've installed it in our office actually. And what you see under the sink in our office is two Qualcomm products. And they are using the LoRaWAN protocol for long range. They are battery driven with 10 years battery lifetime with no maintenance. And they send you the data of how much is being consumed. And this is a great product. And by the way, we've showed you three different vendors. We had the Qualcomm, we had the Strega, and we're using the Aquascope, and of course we're using our strips. But the whole point that I want to make sure that you take with you after this presentation and demo is that we're just showing you four different examples, four different products. But the whole point with Ygio is that you can use you don't have to use the strip sensor, you could use it from our competitor because it's more suitable for your need. It's all about creating the possibilities for you to use the devices you would like, independent of which technology or which protocol they're using. That shouldn't matter for you. It's the functionality, it's of course the cost, it's the design. That's what you want to choose, not only having 2 or 3 different vendors to choose from.
At Viridian, we believe that technology is only as good and as useful as its user interface. If it's not easy and intuitive, it won't be used to its full capacity. Frederick's now going to show us some of the basic elements of Ygio that make it both simple for the average user, yet powerful for your more technical managers.
Let's take another side of this. Well, we're saying that Ygio has an API. you can access all the data. You are able to control anything in the system that you can do in the building. For example, the water valve shutter. And in the beginning, we're starting small, right? You don't have the possibility to integrate directly towards our API. Well, with IGIO, it comes 3 different basic visualization tools. You have the control panel that you see right now. The control panels is basically a way to see all the devices you have connected in your network that you're allowed to see. If you're an administrator, you might see all of the devices, right? You can see who can see what. This is like a Google Drive functionality. Who has the access to see the water leak detection? Who has the access to control the aquascope? You as an administrator are in control and you're able to set these rules. You're also able to see if it has a poor signal, if you need to replace the battery, things that you need to know in order to manage your network in a simple way. Now we're going over to the location manager where you're able to see this on a map. If you have both Canada and Sweden and you have a couple of properties in Germany, you have a quick overview and you see if there's an alert or if there's a problem. You can zoom in all the way to the apartment. And right now we're going to show you our office and we're going to show you the water consumption. And as you can see, you are seeing all that technical data. That might not be interesting for you, but it's interesting for us. It tells you things like the signal and the strength if you need to improve your network. Things that are important if you're an IoT network operator. But then you're coming to the second part. You're seeing the graph, you're seeing the visualization, you're seeing this beautiful curve. You're also able to download this into a CSV file. But remember that all of these functionalities we've showed so far are accessible through the API. We have actually built this on top of our own API. And it doesn't stop there. The rule engine, we talked about these emails, this SMS that you're getting when there's a water leak. That's also built on top of the API. We call it the rule engine. It's extremely powerful. You can do a lot of different configurations. We're not going to show you right now how to set the rules or how to create them, but we want to just mention this, and we also want to show that there's an organizational manager. If you're a larger organizations, being able to administrate who can see what, who does what in your IoT and your IGIO solution. Okay, so we talked about IoT and water. Is that all you do? No. We go everywhere from water leak detection to access control to security to home care to smart home, but we also go outside of the building. We are working with some of the largest cities and the smart city projects in Northern Europe. We are working with agricultural and smart farming, smart shipping. So the platform is extremely versatile, extremely powerful in different applications. Let's go back to our real estate owner and our case. We have a real estate owner that had invested in this IoT water leak detection system. But they also want to integrate old technology. Well, you have HVAC in the buildings, for example. You have the access control, so you can get the plumber in the building when you need it. And an example of how we work with it is with a partner product from Beijer Electronics that are able to integrate different kind of protocols. There are so many different ways of connecting legacy systems. And we encourage you to reach out, to ask us those questions about the systems you have, the protocols you're using, because in order to make this scalable, in order to make it cost efficient for you, it's all about using what's already there that can be reused and can be used for another 10 years together with the new IoT technology. And that's also one of the reasons why we work with system integrators and partners. So for example, we're working with Viridian in Canada. And Viridian Automation has tons of experience. They are extremely competent and focused on the real estate industry. I appreciate the possibility to show you this demo and to go through it step by step. It's one of 1,000 examples. You can find more material in our presentations. There's a lot more on our website that are continuously updated. And before we close this demo and open up for questions, we have a couple of just summaries or sum ups. And For us, water leaks is one of the main problems in the real estate industry. It's, as I mentioned, it's the vanilla case. We have showed you how to detect water leaks using our strip sensor that has the no maintenance, the beautiful and discreet design, using LoRaWAN technology for long range and Z-Wave for smart home. It's a short range protocol up to 100 meters. And we encourage you to actually take a look at what's out on the market. Compare strips with other products and other vendors and find the right solution for you. We're also always open to other demos. If you would like to see something else, let us know. Our strongest belief is that the IoT market is really one of the main game changers for the real estate industry in the cities. But it's all about how you actually build this. You have to think 5 and 10 years ahead, because finding an end-to-end solution that does just the water leak detection, well, you can come back to them tomorrow and ask about the temperature sensing or being able to detect how many people are in the building right now. How do you combine those? How do you make a scalable business out of this?
Thanks, Frederick. Here are some other potential IoT integrations Sensative can offer in buildings. It's almost too many options to consider all at once, which is another reason we're focusing on water today, because that seems to be a very common pain point for most of our customers. The point of showing this slide is that once EGO as a platform is installed, you have many options in the future, and you may not know today what your future needs may be. So you want to make sure that any platform you choose has the flexibility and the versatility to address future needs. While leak damage can be expensive to repair, water can also cause catastrophic damage in sensitive places like electrical vaults, not to mention the threat to health and safety in some incidents that have happened in the not too distant past. It would be very interesting for us to learn more about your challenges and goals around this topic and how we might help you to reduce the frequency of adverse events and manage your insurance costs, among other benefits. Moving on to the question period now. Let me invite our attendees to share feedback and ask questions, though if you must leave for another meeting, we want to thank you again for attending. We'd welcome the opportunity to discuss your unique situations, your buildings, your applications, and how Viridian and Sensative might play a part in advancing the protection and efficiency of your facilities. Thank you.